Hi, I'm Kep Kepner CPA here in Dallas. Uh, you might expect that all I'm going to do is talk about accounting and tax, but the reality is we consult with our clients in a wide variety of areas. And one of those is to give them some tools when they're selling their product. We've talked about the concept of having your prospect be qualified to do business with you rather than you trying to sell to them. It's a very strong distinction between the two. And that puts the decision for whether you want that client in your hands, not in the client's hands. So we've talked about how you establish the need, the real need, deep down inside of that prospect. Not that they want to have good financial data and tax data, but why they want the improvements in their business that will come from that. We've talked also about the cost factor. When you talk to somebody and they say, well, what's it cost? In effect, they've thrown this big rock or boulder that you've got to carry around until you answer it. And there's a great question to put it back where it belongs with the prospect. They're the ones that are going to pay you some money, and you ask them what their budget is. The third area has to do with who decides what you're selling. So think about this. How many times have you been in a store and you're looking at a product and the salesman is trying to tell you all about it and get you to buy it, and you say, well, I'll have to talk to my wife about that. Well, I'll have to talk to my husband about that. What you're doing is you're deciding you don't want to decide. What you have at that point in the way of knowledge about the product or about whatever you're looking at, you're in a position where you're just listening to them, gathering information maybe, but you're not a buyer. You've all got a built-in excuse. Well, I have to ask my wife about that. And so the magic question when you're dealing with selling to people, either a business or an individual, is you say this: who besides you will be involved in the decision? So if you're talking to a company and you want to sell them your product or service, you ask that question, because in almost any company there are a whole lot of people who can say no and very few people who can say yes. You want to be talking to the person that can say yes. So if you're talking to somebody and they answer the question, well, it's going to be myself and our financial vice president, then you know that you've got to talk to the financial vice president. And you cannot give all the information to somebody that can't make the decision without the other party. So the magic question is, who besides you is involved in the decision? Now see how different that is from asking them for an order, finding out that they've got to go check with somebody. When you honor them by saying, who besides you, you're saying to the person you're talking to, you're a valuable person. You have a lot to do with this purchase. So who besides you is involved in it? So you've honored them for what they bring to the table. And you've also found out who else has to be involved in the decision making. Why do you think that the salesman that might come to your home to sell you insurance wants to talk to both you and your wife at the same time? Simple, because they don't want that excuse sitting out there. Well, I have to talk to my wife. And that's really poor for the salesman, because you can't explain that product to your spouse the same way that the salesman can. So you want to honor people by talking to all the people that are involved in the decision. Then you get down to the question or the comment that a lot of people say is, well, I'll think about it. Well, you want to avoid that, because people think about things forever, and it's really an excuse. So what you say at the start is, when do you plan on making a decision? Not whether you are or not, but when. So you ask them then. So you give them, if they're going to say, I'm going to think about it, they'll probably tell you, well, I'm going to make the decision by the end of the month. Then you know what you can do between now and the end of the month. One of the most powerful things you can do to a prospective buyer is say this: will you tell me no if you decide not to use my product? And what are they going to say? They're going to say yes. Might as well get them in the mode to saying yes now. But the reality is there's some psychology to that. It's not a game. You're not playing a game. You're not pulling the wool over their eyes. You're basically saying that you're asking them to tell you that they're not going to buy from you if they decide that. Because quite frankly, you don't want to waste any time if they're not going to buy. I don't know about you, but I don't want to waste time on people that are not going to buy from me. I want to meet with people who are ready, willing, and able to buy from me. And I'm going to find that out as quickly as I can so that I can qualify them, I can find out their budget, I can understand who else is involved in the decision, and I can find out when they're going to decide. And I'm going to ask them, will you tell me no if you decide not to buy from me? We can help you in the marketing area. Give us a call. Thanks.